tell you one thing, I went on under rehearsed for every one of those damn poems. Did you want this spot, Lou?
I'll have this spot because I'll use the mic to say questions.
Go,
so I'm Sue Butler, I'm the editor of the Macquarie Dictionary, and the connection with Les is that he comes to work on the dictionary once a month, roughly. And I can give Les a dictionary, an old dictionary, you know, that thick, and say, Les, read that from cover to cover, and just tell me anything that seems to relate to Australian English that is of interest to us. So Les says, yes, happily, disappears into the dictionary, emerges every now and then to say, oh, this is interesting, I didn't know that, I knew that word, but I didn't know it meant that, and so on. And happily reads from A to Z in the most extraordinary array of books and odd corners of the English language. So I'm here to, on the strength of that, to wrangle questions, and would anyone like to ask anything? Yes?
It seems you take your inspiration from just about everywhere, but do you ever have that dry spots? Do you ever have those lengths of time where inspiration just doesn't seem to be coming from anywhere?
For the benefit of people sort of listening out there, I have to repeat your question.
He's spot on, that fella, he's got it right.
So, this is a question about inspiration and dry spots. And do you have any?
Yeah.
Inspiration or dry spots?
Yes, you do. And I'm having one at the moment. When you finish a book and bring it out, you usually don't write any more for a while because you got it all out of your system, whatever it was. You're never quite sure what it is, but you know there will come a day when it won't happen for a while, and you just have to write it out. You know, I'm publishing another book at the moment nobody's heard of. It's called On Bunya, which is a kind of a biography of my home district, which was settled 150 years ago by Scots, and I don't even know the population of Bunya. It's enough. It's enough food. I got a lot of stories, a lot of wonderful stories and lies and stuff in there. And there's only one copy of the book out so far, an advanced copy, but it'll be out soon. And I've been dabbing little extras into it and wishing there was another way to get another word in there. Oh God, I forgot to put in such and such a word. And let me think, there was one that I'm still weeping over, which was Jojo. And Jojo is a bindi burr. In most parts of Australia, you're going to get a bindi in your foot, you know. But around home we get Jojos. And I forgot Jojo. But that happens.
Yes. Anyone else? Yes.
I'm sorry if this seems like a rude question. I hope it's not. But I was wondering how many poems you have that you haven't been able to complete.
Oh, interesting. This is a question about how many poems Les has that he has not been able to complete.
Very few, but sometimes it's taken an awful long time to finish them. I would know that something was in there, and one day it was going to give up its essence, but it wasn't going to make me wait. I think the record would be about 15 years. I think, I got him. I got him by the short and curlies now. But,
and you've written poems a number of times, haven't you? I remember
you
saying.
Yeah, you do write poems over until you get them right. You know, I wouldn't like to leave the world with a poem unfinished. It may happen.
Yes.
It's impossible not to notice the enormous amount of wordplay in your poems, puns, half puns, and so on. I was wondering, could you comment on the ability to extract new meanings, forcing words together or forcing them apart, which you often seem to do in your poems?
This is a question about wordplay, about puns, half puns, about pulling words apart and pushing them together in strange ways, or not normal ways. Would you like to comment on how you do this?
The very best thing you've got to have is a very good pair of glasses so that when you're reading the poem in public, you're not going to stumble over the bugger and make a mess of it, you know. I did get I did make a few errors tonight, and I got by mostly. Yeah, words are, I think, probably inexhaustible. You can find more in them and more in them, and when you can't, you go to another word. There are plenty more words, you know. And, yeah, I fell in love with words about the age of, well, in my teens, and I was intending to be a painter. I wanted to put colour all over things, and there was one fella in our school who was extremely gifted at that. His name of Robin Norling. He was gifted and I wasn't. I couldn't paint for jam, and he painted very well, and he's still at it. And I was having a bad time with school bullying, and my two best teachers in the place, one was a teacher of English and one was a teacher of all things sport. He knew I wouldn't play sport, so he did what he really liked. He liked words and poetry as well. So they turned me on to poetry, knowing that I would get so interested in it I would forget all about being bullied. And it happened. I'm still forgetting about being bullied. And that was the diversion I needed. I just needed to find the right diversion to take me in a direction which I knew straight from the beginning. You had to find something that you would never exhaust. You wouldn't be 30 years old and finish with it. It would last you a lifetime. So far, it's going well.
Yes.
Hi. Having brought my 10-year-old daughter along tonight, we couldn't help but notice that their audience is rather, the median age is higher rather than younger. I want to ask Liz, does he think that poetry is a dying art both in the writing and in the reading? And if so, what can we do about that?
Is poetry a dying art in the writing and the reading, and what can we do about it?
I've never found it so. There are more people, every time I read here, there's more people than there were last time. They won't be able to fit them in for the next reading, and we'll have to do it in the quadrangle. I don't know, I don't think, it's not going to concern me for more than about 10 or 15 years. There's a natural time limit on these things. It will hang around. It will never be a majority art. It will never outweigh, say, rock and roll, but it may well outlast rock and roll. Rock and roll might disappear. They say it has. I don't know. I wouldn't know how it started or how it's going. But, I think that an art form that gets very big and expansive often dies out before one that has to work hard for its effects. And so I'm pretty confident of its future.
I'll just do one of them then. Yeah.
Thanks, Liz. I heard you speak 20 years ago. A couple of the themes that you wrestled with that seemed to mean a lot to you then. You mentioned one tonight, but you didn't mention depression, but you didn't mention the other one, which is the sort of the unacknowledged Indigenous sort of culture when you grew up and it's still around. You just, you know, it's sort of just swept under the thing. It's not just. But yeah, I don't know. I just assume it's still a really big sort of thing that you notice. You know, that, but you didn't mention it.
I didn't get all of that. I got a lot of it.
Okay. This question is about a couple of important themes in your work, and so one is
wrestling with depression, not just depression, but wrestling with
yeah,
the other one is
yes, wrestling with depression. The other one is the unacknowledged Indigenous culture that's blurred with rural.
Well, it's all around us. You actually noticed it, but you never sort of.
Indigenous culture, all around, but unacknowledged.
Best thing to do with it when it's acknowledged, just to have nothing to do with it at all. I think I've been carefully keeping away from the word Indigenous because I figure that at the moment it's very fashionable and people using it will be getting it wrong some of the time. Others will be getting it right but being misunderstood. So I thought when it was still not very well known, it was legitimate to write about it. But I think for the moment, leave it alone. And up on the north coast of New South Wales, nobody quite knows where they stand. There are relatives of mine who would admit to being Aboriginal and others who wouldn't. And there are others who would think they were and probably pretend it. They're just starting coming on stream now. And they wouldn't be right, they'd be wrong. And we don't actually know, and we're a bit afraid of it. Everybody's a bit afraid of the word Indigenous at the moment, so I leave it alone.
It was a big deal to you 20 years ago, but it's not now.
Huh?
It was really important to you 20 years ago, but it's not so much now.
It's dealing with itself, it's doing its own business.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah. I don't have to do it all, for God's sake. I've got to write the whitefellas poetry for him.
Yes.
Have you ever copped any flack over the image Aboriginal White House? Aboriginal Opera House.
Have you ever copped any flack over the image Aboriginal Opera House?
Never from black people. Never from black people. Only from a few white fellas. And they were all academics.
One, yes.
I was going to ask you, I'm going to ask you, how do you determine when your poem is finished? Or, because like painting, sometimes you don't know when to stop when you do paint. And I'm just wondering, in comparison, when you're writing a poetry piece of poem, how do you know when to stop?
How do you know when your poem
You
is
determine it,
finished,
yeah.
complete? How do you know when to stop?
You don't always, but you have a strong sense of it sometimes. And there are times when the poem says, "Now bugger off, go on, you're finished. Leave it alone." Other times it says, "Well, leave it alone for the moment and see what happens." And it often has different meanings at different times. So you say, "I was 50 when I wrote that. I'm 70 now. I wouldn't have put it that way." So these things go on living while you're living, but they've got to live without you when you go. You know?
One last one, or are we done? One last one.
It's always a great privilege to hear a poet read his or her work, so thank you. But is poetry, what is the best way of understanding and enjoying poetry? Is it a spoken word or is it a written word?
What is the best way of understanding poetry, as the spoken word or the written word?
You know, I still haven't worked that out yet. It's only been 50 years. I got to Sydney University. I read about 2 poets at the time, and I got into Fisher Library, the other one, and started reading everything in the poetry line. And I couldn't quite make out, am I more interested in, and is it more relevant for me to read this stuff that's in prose all about poetry, or is it more relevant for me to read this stuff which is poetry, or which they say is poetry, most of which I found was bloody rubbish. It was, amongst other things, the time when Ezra Pound was very much in favour. And so I was finding my way between these two, and I've never quite left either one of them behind or made a definitive resolution about it. I discovered giving poetry readings in 1964 with Jeff Lehman and a couple of other people over at the Independent Theatre, and including a girl playing a kayagum, which was a Korean piki-plonk instrument. It was a lovely instrument. And I've been doing it ever since, but a lot of my questions are not resolved.
But I think your question was, should we be having poetry delivered to us out loud, spoken to us, or reading it out of a book?
Why do you think I went to all that trouble of evading the question? Glad to find out. Do it. Take it the way you like it.
Thank you very much indeed, and of course a huge thanks to Les for sharing not only his poetry readings but some of his observations, and I particularly love the last one, take it how you like it. And you've been a great audience, so thanks for all your really interesting questions as well. There's more food and refreshment, please partake and enjoy the rest of the session here. Thank you very much indeed.